A mind unshaken. The journey begins within. You meditate, you read, you even try to be the calm one. But the truth is, you're still triggered way too easily. A single comment from a coworker, a partner's silence, a phone notification that brings bad news, and suddenly, the peace you worked so hard for, gone. And you're not alone. In today's world, we're told to stay positive, let it go, or just breathe. But nobody tells us how to actually face the chaos happening inside. No one teaches us how to stop being a slave to our emotions, to our ego, to the endless cycle of reacting. That's where this path begins. This isn't a video about suppressing your emotions or pretending to be okay. It's not spiritual fluff, and it's definitely not toxic positivity. It's a deeper practice, drawn from Buddhist wisdom, that shows you how to build a mind that doesn't shake when life does. You'll learn how to pause like a warrior, sit with discomfort like a monk, and turn anger into clarity. Not by force, but by understanding. Because real strength isn't loud. It doesn't punch or post or prove. It watches. It waits. It breathes. It transforms. This is a journey made for real life. For people who deal with deadlines, heartbreaks, anxiety, and noise. For those who have tried to stay strong but keep getting pulled back into the storm. And if that's you, you're in the right place. Because peace isn't something you find out there. It's something you build, breath by breath, from the inside. The journey begins within. The warriors pause, finding strength in stillness. The world tells you to move fast, to speak up, to act. But real power, it often hides in the pause. That quiet moment between what happens to you and what you choose to do next. Most people never notice that space. They get triggered, they react, they regret, again and again. But there's another way, and it begins not with control, but with awareness. Imagine a warrior, not one who swings recklessly at the first sign of danger, but one who stands still in the middle of chaos. He breathes. He sees clearly. He waits for the right moment, not out of fear, but out of precision. His strength doesn't come from rage, but from restraint. That's the kind of power the Buddha taught. The sacred pause isn't weakness. It's the highest form of self-mastery. In Buddhism, this moment, the gap between emotion and action, is where freedom lives. When anger arises, or fear, or sadness, you don't have to follow it. You can watch it. You can breathe with it. You can choose not to let it drive the wheel. And that choice, that pause, is what transforms you from being reactive to being wise. You felt it before. The email that frustrated you. The driver who cut you off. The family member who pushed your buttons. You wanted to lash out. You almost did. But then, something in you paused. Even for just a second. And in that second, you had power. The more you practice that, not just in moments of crisis, but in everyday life, the more unshakable you become. You don't need to silence the world. You just need to stop letting it shake your center. Modern psychology backs this up. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Buddhism has been teaching this for over 2,000 years. So how do you practice the pause? Not by forcing stillness, but by noticing the rise of heat in your chest, the shift in your breath, the tightening of your jaw, and simply choosing not to move yet. Just noticing, just breathing. That's all it takes to begin. Over time, your nervous system relaxes. Your reactions become responses, and your life begins to feel less like a battlefield and more like a path. You don't need to meditate for hours. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to catch one moment, that single second, and turn it into stillness. That's where transformation begins. When criticism comes, let wisdom answer, not ego. Criticism stings, even when it's mild, even when it's meant to be helpful. You hear a comment, a tone, a glance, and suddenly something in you tightens. You feel misunderstood, unappreciated, maybe even attacked. And before you realize it, your mind is already building its defense. They don't get me. Who are they to say that? I should put them in their place. But in that moment, it's not wisdom speaking, it's ego. Most people respond to criticism not with curiosity, but with defense. It's a reflex. But Buddhism teaches us that every moment of discomfort is also a chance to wake up. The Buddha himself was criticized constantly, called a fraud, accused of leading people astray. And yet, he never reacted with anger or pride, because he knew something we often forget. Words only have power if we give them power. Imagine your mind as a fortress. If your walls are thin, every insult becomes a wrecking ball. But if your foundation is solid, words bounce off like leaves in the wind. The stronger your inner peace, the less you need to prove anything. That's not weakness, it's mastery. Still, this isn't about being passive. It's about knowing when a response comes from wisdom or from the need to defend an image of yourself. The ego wants to win. Wisdom wants to understand. The ego needs validation. Wisdom knows its worth. When someone criticizes you, ask not, "How do I defend myself?" but, "What's the most peaceful response I can give right now?" That shift alone is transformational. There's a powerful Buddhist story where a man insults the Buddha to his face. The Buddha remains silent. After a while, the man asks, "Don't you have anything to say?" The Buddha replies calmly, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" That's what it means to let wisdom answer. And modern psychology backs this up. Studies on emotional intelligence show that those who pause before reacting to feedback, especially negative feedback, build stronger relationships, better self-regulation, and greater confidence. Because when you're not constantly defending yourself, you're free to grow, free to listen, free to let go. The truth is, not all criticism is fair. Some of it is mean, some of it is wrong. But if you always meet it with resistance, you'll always suffer twice. Once from the comment, and again from your reaction. You don't need to fight every voice outside. You need to stop letting it disturb the voice within. So the next time someone criticizes you, pause. Breathe. Feel the sting, but don't reach for the sword. Let wisdom rise before your ego does. Let your peace speak for you. Because when you no longer need to defend yourself, that's when you've truly won. Discomfort is the dojo. Sit with it. Don't escape. Nobody likes discomfort. That tightness in your chest, the restless energy in your limbs, the awkward silence after an argument. We're wired to move away from it, to distract ourselves, soothe it, or bury it under busyness. Modern life makes it easy. There's always a screen to scroll, a snack to grab, a new task to jump into. But avoidance is a habit that slowly weakens the mind, because every time we escape discomfort, we miss the chance to train with it. Buddhism teaches that suffering is not the enemy, resistance is. What you avoid controls you, but what you're willing to sit with begins to lose its power. Imagine your discomfort not as a punishment, but as a dojo, a training ground for your inner strength. In martial arts, the dojo is where the body learns discipline, endurance, focus. In life, discomfort is where the mind does the same. We live in a culture that worships ease and convenience. But convenience doesn't make us wise. It makes us dependent. Strength isn't built when things are smooth. It's built when things are difficult, and you stay anyway. Buddhist monks don't meditate for hours in silence because it's pleasant. They do it because the stillness forces them to meet the discomfort inside, the boredom, the ache, the noise of the mind, and not run from it. And through that sitting, they become stronger, more centered, more awake. You can do the same, no monastery required. You can practice in the little moments, The long line at the grocery store, the frustrating meeting, the loneliness that creeps in on a Friday night. Instead of reaching for your phone or venting or numbing out, just pause. Sit with it. Let the discomfort rise without fighting it. Watch your urge to escape. And stay, even if just for 30 seconds. That's where your growth begins. Psychologists call this distress tolerance, the ability to stay with difficult feelings without reacting impulsively. Studies show that people who build this skill are more emotionally resilient, less anxious, and more capable of long-term success. It's not that they don't feel pain. It's that they've learned how to be with pain without falling apart. Every time you sit with discomfort, you rewrite your nervous system story. You teach your body that pain doesn't mean danger and that you don't have to run. Over time, your tolerance expands. Your patience deepens. And the things that once overwhelmed you start to feel manageable, even small. So the next time discomfort shows up, don't push it away. Invite it in. Bow to it like a teacher. Because the dojo doesn't exist to hurt you. It exists to strengthen you. And if you can sit in the fire without flinching, you'll begin to see the fire was never the enemy. It was the forge. Reframe the storm. Your pain is not punishment. Pain has a way of making us feel like we've done something wrong. When life falls apart, when we lose someone, when we're betrayed, when everything feels heavy, we often ask ourselves, why is this happening to me? And deep down, we start to believe that maybe we deserved it, that maybe we're being punished. But Buddhism teaches something profoundly different. Pain is not a punishment. It's a teacher, and whether we suffer or grow depends not on the pain itself, but on how we see it. Two people can face the same hardship and walk away with completely different outcomes. One breaks under the weight. The other transforms. The difference isn't in what happened. It's in how they framed it. The human mind doesn't just record reality. It interprets it. And that interpretation becomes the lens through which we experience everything. Imagine standing in a storm. The wind is howling, rain stings your skin, and visibility is gone. You can scream at the sky, curse the clouds, try to run. None of it will change the weather. Or you can accept the storm, anchor yourself, and wait with patience. You begin to see that the storm is not personal. It's not here to destroy you. It's just weather. And eventually, it passes. Buddhism calls this right view, the ability to see things clearly, without the distortions of fear, ego, or resentment. It's not about denying pain. It's about understanding it, seeing it not as punishment, but as part of the human experience. Even the Buddha faced rejection, sickness, and death. Yet he never blamed life for being hard. He simply learned how to meet difficulty without making it worse. Modern psychology echoes this in the practice of cognitive reframing, changing the way we interpret events in order to change how we feel about them. Studies show that people who learn to reframe pain as growth become more resilient, optimistic, and emotionally balanced. Because the story we tell ourselves about our pain often hurts more than the pain itself. You can start reframing right now. When something difficult happens, pause. Ask yourself, is this happening to me or for me? Maybe this setback is the thing that brings you closer to who you truly are. Maybe this loss is carving out space for something deeper. Maybe this pain is revealing where you still need healing. When you shift the frame, everything changes. The storm you're facing might feel personal, but it isn't. Life doesn't punish. It teaches. And pain isn't proof of failure. It's proof that you're alive, that you care, that you're still open to growth. So next time the sky darkens, remember, you don't have to fear the storm. You only have to see it for what it really is and choose how you'll walk through it. From emotion to energy, transform, don't suppress. You've been told to manage your emotions, to stay calm, to not let things get to you. But no one really teaches you what to do with that sudden rush of anger, the tight grip of fear, or the heavy weight of sadness. So, most people push their emotions down. They pretend they're fine. They bury the fire and hope it goes out. But here's the truth. What you suppress doesn't disappear. It transforms into stress, anxiety, fatigue. Buddhism offers a different path, not to suppress emotion, but to transmute it. To meet the fire, understand it, and redirect it into something that frees you instead of burns you. Emotions, in their rawest form, are energy. They rise in the body. They move. They carry force. And like any form of energy, they can be destructive or creative. It all depends on how you channel them. Anger doesn't have to become violence. Fear doesn't have to become paralysis. Sadness doesn't have to become despair. Each of these, when brought into awareness, can become fuel for insight, action, clarity, and compassion. Imagine a monk sitting in meditation, feeling frustration bubble up from within. He doesn't clench his fists or force it away. He breathes with it. He observes its temperature, its rhythm, its pull. And by not resisting it, he dissolves its power. The emotion remains, but it no longer dominates. It becomes something else: awareness, presence, even love. That is the art of emotional transmutation, not fighting the wave, not drowning in it, but surfing it into stillness. Modern neuroscience confirms what Buddhism has known for centuries. When we name our emotions, we tame them. When we create space to feel instead of react, the brain shifts from survival mode to creative mode. That's when new solutions, perspectives, and strength arise. You don't grow by pretending. You're not angry. You grow by facing that anger and asking, "What is this trying to tell me?" You don't conquer fear by ignoring it. You conquer it by walking through it, eyes open, heart steady. The key is this: you are not your emotions. They are passing weather patterns, not permanent truths. You are the sky, vast, open, and untouched by any single storm. When you stop identifying with emotion and start observing it, you reclaim your power. You shift from being a victim of feeling to being the master of your inner world. So the next time emotion rises, don't run from it. Don't silence it. Don't let it hijack you either. Just meet it. Breathe with it. Ask what it needs. And then let it move through you, not against you. Because energy, once understood, becomes wisdom. And emotion, when honored, becomes your greatest teacher. The observer's power. Watch without getting pulled in. There's a part of you that notices everything. It watches your thoughts come and go. It sees your emotions rise, peak, and dissolve. It knows when you're afraid, when you're angry, when you're lost in overthinking. And yet, it stays still, unmoved. That part of you is not your fear, not your frustration, not your story. It is the observer. And the more you learn to live from that place, the more power you gain over your inner world. Most people get swept away by whatever their mind throws at them. A stressful thought appears, and suddenly they are stressed. A wave of sadness comes, and they believe they are broken. They react to every trigger, every emotion, every story their mind creates. But Buddhism teaches a radical shift. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them. That single realization is the gateway to emotional freedom. Imagine sitting beside a river. Thoughts and feelings float by like leaves on the water. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to stop them. You don't have to believe them. You just watch. That's the practice. Not fixing, not analyzing, just witnessing. Over time, you begin to notice that your mind is always moving, but you don't have to move with it. The observer in you remains steady. This is not passivity. It's presence. It's the ability to feel everything without being consumed by anything. And it's one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Neuroscience calls it meta-awareness, the ability to step back and notice your experience without becoming it. Studies show that people who cultivate this skill experience less anxiety, better emotional regulation, and greater clarity in decision-making. Why? Because they're not reacting to life blindly. They're responding with awareness. The Buddha remained calm even when insulted because he wasn't caught in the trap of identity. He didn't see himself as the ego under attack. He was resting in the observer, spacious, unshaken, awake. That doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop fusing with every feeling as if it defines you. When you live as the observer, you no longer try to control every thought or fix every emotion. You allow, you breathe, you watch. And that simple act of watching creates space between stimulus and response, between the mind's noise and your true nature. In that space, wisdom can speak. In that space, peace becomes possible. So the next time a wave of emotion rises, don't grab onto it. Watch it. Let it crest and fall. You are not the wave. You are the ocean. And the more you remember that, the more unshakable you become. The quiet strength of needing less. We live in a world that constantly whispers, more will make you happy, more success, more likes, more comfort, more options, and so we chase endlessly, hoping that once we finally get there, we'll feel complete. But Buddhism teaches the opposite. It doesn't say you can't have nice things. It says that real freedom begins when you stop needing them, not because life gets smaller, but because your peace no longer depends on what you can hold in your hands. There's a quiet kind of power in needing less. Not the kind that shouts or flaunts minimalism, but the kind that quietly walks through a noisy world without being pulled in every direction. When you no longer crave constant distraction, when you don't need external validation to feel worthy, when you can sit with stillness and not reach for your phone, that's strength. Inner strength. The kind that doesn't collapse when life doesn't go your way. The Buddha lived with very little, not out of punishment, but out of wisdom. He understood that attachment is the root of suffering, not because it's wrong to enjoy life, but because clinging to what is temporary guarantees disappointment. Everything changes, everything passes, and if your happiness is built on things that can vanish, then your peace will vanish with them. But when you find contentment within, you become untouchable. Modern psychology echoes this ancient truth. Studies in happiness research show that beyond a certain point, more wealth, more possessions, more choices don't make people happier. In fact, they often increase anxiety. Because the more you have, the more you fear losing. Simplicity isn't deprivation, it's clarity. It's knowing what truly matters and letting go of what doesn't. You don't have to give everything up to follow this path. You just need to question what you're chasing. Are you buying because you need, or because you're avoiding something? Are you scrolling because you're curious, or because you're trying to escape your thoughts? Start small. One moment of intentional stillness. One decision not to feed the craving. One breath before the impulse. That's where freedom begins. Needing less doesn't mean living with less love, less joy, or less beauty. It means you're no longer dependent on the outside to feel full. On the inside, it means you can enjoy life without being owned by it. That's a rare kind of strength. The kind that's invisible to the world, but unshakable within. No reaction, no weakness, only freedom. The moment someone pushes your buttons, you feel it. The urge to snap, defend, explain, prove. It's fast, almost automatic. A comment, a glare, a mistake, and suddenly you're reacting. But in that reaction, you give something away. Your power, your peace, your control. Buddhism offers another way, the path of non-reaction, not as weakness, but as the deepest kind of strength. Because when you don't react, you don't get pulled. You stay free. Imagine someone trying to start a fire with wet wood. No matter how many sparks they throw, it won't catch. That's what you become when you master non-reaction. People can try to provoke you, test you, insult you, but there's nothing in you that burns. Because your peace is no longer something they can reach. Most people believe reacting is power, but reacting is easy. What's rare is restraint. What's powerful is presence. It takes no effort to lash out. It takes deep strength to pause, breathe, and let the moment pass without feeding it. That pause is where your freedom lives. The Buddha once said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred. Hatred ceases by love." But even deeper than love is awareness, the ability to see a wave coming and choose not to surf it. In neuroscience, this is called response inhibition, the ability to delay action even in the face of emotional triggers. It's one of the hallmarks of emotional maturity. People who train this ability tend to live longer, make better decisions, and experience fewer regrets. Why? Because they don't let the heat of the moment decide the direction of their life. Non-reaction doesn't mean suppression. It doesn't mean pretending things don't bother you. It means feeling the heat rise and choosing not to be consumed by it. It means allowing space between the moment and your response. In that space, something else can emerge. Wisdom, clarity, compassion. You stop being a puppet pulled by the strings of the world. You become the one holding the strings. You won't always get it right. You'll slip. You'll react. But each time you catch yourself before you do, each time you choose stillness over impulse, you're training your mind to be unshakable. You're saying, "I'm not here to prove anything. I'm here to be free." So the next time someone pushes, let them push. Watch it rise. Let it pass. And say nothing. That's not weakness. That's power that doesn't need to be loud. That's strength that doesn't ask to be seen. That's freedom, born not from control over others, but from deep control over yourself. Train for the storm. Visualize the fall before it comes. Most people wait for the storm before they learn how to stand in it. They wait until they've lost something, until they've been betrayed, until life knocks the wind out of them. And only then do they begin to wonder how to cope. But Buddhism teaches us not just to survive suffering, but to prepare for it before it arrives. This is the power of mental rehearsal, of training the mind for adversity in advance, not to attract it, but to be unshaken when it comes. Dark visualization isn't about being negative. It's not about pessimism or expecting the worst. It's about clarity. It's about recognizing that nothing lasts forever, not health, not comfort, not the people we love. And instead of pretending otherwise, we gently contemplate impermanence so that when change does come, it doesn't break us. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not from what happens, but from the shock of clinging to how we thought things would stay. Visualize loss, not to feel hopeless, but to wake up to what you have. Visualize failure, not to give up, but to strip fear of its power. Visualize death, not to be morbid, but to live more honestly, more urgently, more awake. The mind that has rehearsed pain doesn't become numb. It becomes compassionate. It becomes steady. Because it no longer fears the fall, it has already walked through it in silence. Modern psychology supports this ancient insight. In cognitive behavioral therapy, exposure to feared thoughts reduces their emotional charge. Navy SEALs are trained to visualize worst-case scenarios so that if they happen, the body already knows how to respond. Buddhist monks meditate on impermanence daily, not to suffer, but to become intimate with reality. Because when you're familiar with loss, you stop resisting life. You start embracing it. You can begin with small storms. Imagine being rejected and watch how your mind reacts. Imagine being misunderstood and breathe through the emotion that arises. Imagine letting go of something you love, not to detach from it, but to love it more deeply while it's here. The point isn't to rehearse despair. It's to build presence, so that when the real storm comes, as it inevitably will, you're not shattered. You're ready. True resilience isn't built during the crisis. It's built before it, in the quiet practice of facing what others refuse to look at. That's the strength of dark visualization. It doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. And when you stop fearing the fall, you begin to rise with clarity, with humility, and with a heart wide enough to hold whatever life brings. Live by a code. Be someone you'd respect in silence. When no one is watching, who are you? That quiet space. When you're alone with your thoughts, when there's no applause, no judgment, no pressure, is the clearest reflection of your character. And in that silence, one question always lingers. Do you respect the person you are becoming? Buddhism doesn't ask us to be perfect. It asks us to be intentional, to live not by impulse, but by a personal code, one that guides us. When emotions flare, when life gets hard, and when the easy path tempts us to compromise who we are, we live in a world of shifting opinions, endless noise, and external pressure. Without a code, you drift. You become reactive. One day you're strong, the next you fold. You follow what feels good in the moment, and you lose the deeper thread of integrity. But when you live by a code, you don't ask the world who you should be, you decide. And you return to that decision, again and again, especially when it's hardest to do so. The Buddha spoke of the Eightfold Path, not as commandments, but as a framework for freedom. Right speech, right action, right intention. These aren't rules to be followed out of fear, but principles that align your life with clarity and purpose. A personal code works the same way. It's not about appearances. It's about becoming the kind of person who can sit alone in silence and feel at peace with themselves. Your code can be simple. I will not let anger speak for me. I will show up even when it's inconvenient. I will tell the truth even when it costs me. I will not abandon myself to fit in. These are not lofty ideas. They're anchors. And the more you live by them, the stronger you become, not in the eyes of others, but in the quiet mirror of your own conscience. Psychologists call this self-concordance. When your actions align with your values, your well-being increases. You experience less regret, more resilience, deeper confidence. Because your life is no longer built on reaction. It's built on purpose. When your identity is grounded in principles, not popularity, you stop needing external approval. You become someone solid, someone steady, someone you'd respect, even in silence. And the truth is, the world doesn't need more people chasing image. It needs more people who live by something real, who choose compassion when no one sees it, who choose honesty when lies are easier, who choose stillness when chaos tempts reaction. That kind of strength doesn't come from motivation. It comes from commitment to a path, to a way, to a code. So write yours, refine it, and then live it, not perfectly, but sincerely. Because the most powerful version of you isn't the one that wins arguments or gets praise. It's the one who, in the stillness of your own heart, can say, I know who I am, and I stand by it. Conclusion: strength is calm. Strength is compassion. You've just walked a path that most people avoid, a path that didn't promise ease, but offered something far more valuable: inner stability. In a world that rewards reaction, you've explored the power of pause. In a culture that chases more, you've discovered the quiet strength of needing less. And in moments where most would lash out, you've learned to sit still, to observe, to breathe, to transform. This wasn't just information. It was an invitation to meet discomfort like a warrior, to greet emotions not with fear, but with presence, to stop building your life on reaction and begin anchoring it in intention. That is real strength, not the kind that demands to be seen, but the kind that no one can take away. Buddhism never asked us to be perfect. It asks us to be awake, awake to our patterns, awake to our impulses, awake to that deeper voice beneath the noise, the one that doesn't yell, but whispers. That voice lives in you. It always has. Now the question is, what will you do with it? Don't let this video be just something you watched. Let it be something you carry into your conversations, into your quiet moments, into the storms that haven't arrived yet, but will. Because the mind you're building here isn't built in theory. It's built in real life. When the pressure's on, when things don't go your way, when no one's clapping, and you stay calm anyway. If something in this spoke to you, share it. Someone you love might be walking through a storm they haven't told you about. And if you'd like to keep walking this path, deeper, slower, steadier, we invite you to subscribe. This isn't just content. It's a companion for your journey inward. And when you're ready, the next step is already waiting. You'll find it in our next video. Not just something to watch, but something to become. Because strength isn't found in control. It's found in calm. And it's expressed not in force, but in compassion. And when those two live in you, you've already begun to awaken.